Hello, in today's video, I thought I'd have a chat about the solar flares that are happening currently. And we've had a lot of solar flares over the last few years, but this week they seem to be quite intense. There was a really huge solar flare earlier in the week, which has had a big effect on people, and that was followed by a smaller one. And my understanding is that there is an expectation of more big solar flares over the weekend and going into next week. These solar flares bring a lot of electromagnetic radiation into the atmosphere from the sun and can have an effect on our weather patterns. They can trigger earthquakes all over the world, as well as affect our technology. Also, the solar flares have created the recent aurora borealis that have been seen all over the world, not just in the usual places. What's also interesting is that when the solar flares are hitting the Earth, they can bring energies in that will actually bring things to the surface in us. So bringing to attention the things that we need to be addressing, but also they can make us feel tired. They can affect our sleep patterns. We may feel generally low in mood, unmotivated, and generally out of sorts. And certainly talking to a client today, she was explaining to me how she's felt very low in mood recently, and so have her friends. How she's been unmotivated, she's sleeping but waking up tired. And when I explained about the solar flares, she said, "Oh, that makes so much sense," because she really didn't know where this was coming from. So, as I mentioned, we can feel low in mood, we can feel unmotivated and generally out of sorts. Some people also experience headaches, and certainly a close friend of mine has had several headaches recently, more than normally would be experienced. And again, it feels like it's related to the solar flares, bringing energies up to the surface that need to be cleared. Other symptoms can be things like flu symptoms and even hot and cold flushes. Not only do we experience physical symptoms, but solar flares can affect us a lot emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually as well, triggering old traumas and wounds deep within us that perhaps we thought we'd healed, bringing another layer of negativity and emotion up to the surface that needs to be healed and released, so that we are healing on that deeper level, and clearing out those buried emotions and that buried trauma that's been too painful for us to address and process previously. Now we're being given an opportunity to address these issues, to let go of all those negative energies relating to all those old wounds and traumas that no longer serve us. We don't want those energies to stay in our energy, because what happens then is that they affect the way that we react and respond to situations that are currently going on around us, and in ways that we perhaps wouldn't normally deal with those situations or experiences. When we go through periods where there are solar flares coming into Earth's atmosphere, as we are now, it can feel very intense, because things just seem to be happening around us, because things are happening to bring to our attention that there are issues that we need to address. We can find ourselves experiencing dramas and conflicts, getting drawn into other people's dramas and conflicts. And this is where we need to take a step back, take a deep breath, bring ourselves back into the moment, and then look at what's going on. Is that my stuff? Is it somebody else's stuff? Why am I getting drawn into that? What is it that I need to look at, that I need to address in me? And as those of you who know me well know, I always say healing begins with ourselves, and we need to look at us first. And when we're getting caught up in drama or conflict, then usually there's something that we need to be looking at and addressing ourselves, to be able to move forward properly. Taking a step back and taking that deep breath is Really important because it puts us back in the moment. It stops us reacting. It allows us to respond to a situation. It allows us to look at what's actually happening and to listen to ourselves, to listen to our body. What is our body telling us? Is it telling us we need extra sleep at the moment? Is it telling us that something needs releasing because we've got a really bad headache? Is it telling us that there's something else going on because we've got a pain somewhere else, we feel nauseated? We need to learn to listen to our body and to try and understand what it's telling us by going inward, by feeling into it, by allowing ourselves to feel the emotion as well. Sometimes when emotions are coming up to the surface, we think we shouldn't experience them. We think we shouldn't allow ourselves to feel those emotions. And what we need to learn to do is to allow those emotions to come up to the surface, to acknowledge them, and then find a way of releasing them that's a constructive way. So, for example, today, one of my students was struggling with anger. She was looking in her energy to see if there was something she needed to clear, couldn't really find anything. When I checked her energy, there was nothing for her to clear. And so I gave her some suggestions of actually how she could allow this anger to be processed and explained that not everything is energetic. Sometimes we need to allow the emotions to come up to the surface and allow ourselves to feel them because it's part of processing the old trauma or the old experience that needs to be let go of, the wounds that we need to heal. But what we do need to do, especially with something like anger, is to make sure that we are dealing with it or allowing it to be processed and cleared and released in a way that's constructive. So doing things like getting a pillow and bashing it by yourself, and letting the anger out that way. Going for walks in nature, it was always a great way of dissipating anger, and it's one of my favorite ways of helping myself to release emotions such as anger. Another thing you can do is write a list of I'm angry because, and then burn that list because you're letting it go, and by burning that list as well, you are completely letting it go. So you've acknowledged it by writing it down, and then you're letting it go. So there's lots of different things we can do, but sometimes we do need to allow ourselves to feel those emotions so that we can release them. We're all going through a spiritual awakening currently. It's helping us to come to a greater understanding of ourselves, of the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are on a journey of self-discovery and self-healing. As we move through this process of awakening, we raise our vibration and our levels of consciousness. And what that does is allow us to perceive things from a higher perspective. And what I mean by that is that we start to see things from a place of unconditional love. We start to see things from a place of compassion. We start to recognize that nothing is good or bad, it just is. It's a learning experience, it's an opportunity for growth. And it's part of the journey that we're experiencing and part of what we have agreed to experience on this journey of called life. So it's my feeling that the next 2 months of this year, so the last 2 months of this year, are going to be very intense in many ways, that there are going to be many changes going on energetically that are being manifested into our physical world. There are changes for the better coming in, even if we can't see them right now in our physical world. But in order for the new to come in, we must let go of the old, and that can be quite uncomfortable as it takes us out of our comfort zone. Many of the patterns that we demonstrate in our behaviors and our lives, we've used throughout many lifetimes, and so they're quite heavily ingrained in us and need healing on many levels. And it's time to let go of those heavily ingrained patterns that no longer serve us. As we heal, there are other changes taking place, and many people are noticing that they're becoming more intuitive, they're developing their psychic gifts, and they are much more sensitive to what's going on. They're more sensitive to energies, they're more sensitive to other people and how other people feel. Some people have also mentioned to me that they're feeling very overwhelmed by what's happening. They're not fully understanding why they feel the way they feel, as I described with my client from earlier on today. And when we feel like this, there is a lot that we can do to help ourselves to heal on whatever level we're ready for. So, as I've already mentioned, getting out for walks in nature, it's very healing and grounding and give us time for reflection, allowing ourselves to experience those emotions, as we mentioned before, rather than pushing them back down again, but of course, making sure that they're experienced and released in a constructive way. Learning to listen to our bodies and what they're telling us is also important. And you can investigate the emotional links and root causes linked to the different symptoms that you experience. And the best books that I've come across are Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life and Yvette Rose's Metaphysical Anatomy. And those of you that are clients of mine or students of mine know that I use both those books regularly to give me insight and understanding to what I'm experiencing with my own issues and what my clients are experiencing and my students, so that I can help them and guide them as they move forward on their healing journey. Taking time out to meditate can help to center us. It can help to regulate our nervous system. It can help to bring insights and so greater understanding of what we need to address. Looking at what we need to deal with in the moment is really important as well, so that we're only dealing with one thing at a time. We can only focus on one thing at a time. So rather than trying to deal with or juggle lots of different things, it's important to sit down and prioritize and just feel into what do I need to do in this moment. And if you sit quietly and ask that, you'll get the answer and you'll know exactly what you need to do. If you don't get the answer, then just pick one thing and do that, and then you'll be inspired with what to do next. On a physical level, protecting our energy against the electromagnetic radiation is really important. And we also, from the solar flares, that is, we also get a lot of electromagnetic frequencies from our technology as well. So it is important to protect our energy as much as we can from these frequencies. So there are some good crystals that you can carry or have around your home and workspace to help to protect your energy. Things like black tourmaline and shungite. Shungite's particularly good with electromagnetic radiation and electromagnetic frequencies. I have shungite, I have pieces of shungite on my computer and also on my phones to help with that. Turquoise is another good crystal for it, and amber, amazonite, and hematite. So these are the ones that I would recommend that you place around your home, particularly by your technology, or carry as tumblestones in your pockets, or wear as bracelets or necklaces. Whatever you're experiencing during this intense time, know that it is actually a gift. It's an opportunity to heal on a much deeper level. And know that you're not the only one in the world that's experiencing these at the moment. This is all of us that are experiencing similar issues. So, the first thing that's important is to recognize and then acknowledge how you're feeling, as that's the start of true healing. If you're then ready to take the next step of exploring what's being brought to your attention and then having healing facilitated for you to help the issues, then do please get in touch with me or book yourself an appointment on my website, which is www.peaceful-living.co.uk. Or you can text me or email me. Text me on my phone number, which is 07795 901 046, or my email is Sarah, Sarah spelled with an H, at peaceful heightened-living.co.uk. I'll put all this information in the notes below this video. If you've enjoyed this video, then please click like and subscribe so that you receive more of these videos and so that you help to raise my profile so that more people can find me and the work that I do. Thanks very much for listening. Have a wonderful weekend.